How's it going, everybody? My name is Jesse and welcome back to Male Nurse Mentor. You guys saw the title of today's video. Today I want to talk about how to land that first nursing job out of school. I'm going to give you guys some tips, 3 big tips, and at the very end I also have one pivotal tip where I think some of you guys will go this way and some of you guys will go this way. We'll split here at that point. But hopefully some of this is helpful to you guys. Hopefully it provides some clarity. I'm currently in the headspace of this, so let's go. So why am I currently in the headspace? Well, I'm also currently in my own personal job hunt. A little bit different for you guys watching this video for the purpose for you guys, right? But for me, it's more of a career advancement, job development. Last year I went to get my master's degree. Now I'm trying to find that next job opportunity, right? Like a promotional one. But still, the headspace is the same. I'm thinking about interviews. I interviewed already at a couple places. You know, I'm in that headspace. I know how scary it is, how intimidating it could be, how challenging, discouraging, exciting, stressful, all of that, right? I get it. So I wanted to make a video looking back in time and my own personal journey, right? Things that helped me, things that would have helped me land that first job. Let's begin. So starting with number 1, friends. This one is networking. Networking. What does this mean? I know as a nursing student back when I was in school, I was like, what is networking? How do you even do that? What does that even mean? I had no idea. But I also had no idea I was actually already doing it when I was doing it. Networking is just as simple as making connections with people. It's not what I initially pictured it to be, which is guys standing around in business suits laughing and shaking hands, right? That's what I always thought networking was, like a sales type of tactic, right? I'm a nurse, I don't do sales, right? So why would I network? Well, you're probably already doing it without realizing that you're doing it. And I'll explain. So as you've seen some of my earlier videos, right? I always say when you're connecting with the preceptor in your first semester and onward, you know, be present, be helpful, have them remember you, ask a lot of questions, be curious, be a good new nursing student, right? Those are all ways that you're already networking. You're already making connections with nurses. You probably already have some nurses remember you when you go back onto the floor. They're like, oh, hey, there's student, hi, you know, stuff like that, right? That's networking. But now to land that first job, you want to kind of build on everything you've done, but you want to do it intentionally. Let's say you're in your final semester of nursing school, and now you're finally in a new hospital, right? Doing all your preceptorship hours to graduate. And oftentimes that's how it's going to go. In your final semester of nursing school, you're going to do all your hours at one specific hospital with this intention that now you're practicing everything that you've learned. Some of you guys may get a choice at what hospital you want to go to. If you do, you want to leverage your way into a hospital that you actually care about. I know for me, I leveraged my way into a hospital near my home and they accepted it and I was able to do my clinical hours at that hospital. For some of you guys, maybe you don't get the choice. But if you don't get the choice, be intentional still with the way you present in that hospital because you're gonna be spending a lot of time there. You're probably gonna be doing your 12-hour shifts finally there for a couple weeks, right? So because of that, you want all this energy, all this time you put into these hospitals to be intentional. Give yourself the option to even apply there, okay? So the same thing you've done all this time up until this point. Be present, connect with these precepting nurses, right? Have them remember you, be helpful, be curious, ask questions. Do all this just the same, but also make sure you ask questions of, oh, does this hospital have any new grad programs? How often do they hire? How long have you been here? Do you like working here? Ask those type of questions now. And maybe you've already done a lot of this, so a lot of it is still the same. But the one thing that I'm going to tell you to do differently at this point in time, this is the key difference maker. This is how people get hired into hospitals that have hundreds of applications, right? Is you be memorable, but to the person that matters. And that's why this is intentional. So yes, you want to meet with the charge nurse, okay? But the charge nurse is going to give you the name of the person you need to actually get in contact who does the hiring, right? So let me backtrack. So you have your preceptor. On this floor that you're doing all your preceptorship hours, connect with the charge nurse. Same thing, have them remember you, ask questions, be curious, right? They're important. The charge nurse is important, your preceptor is important, but the person I realized actually matters most is the hiring manager. This is a nurse that does the interviews. This is a nurse that obviously does the hiring. This is the person you want to get in front of. This is the person you want to do all this stuff you've done with all these other people to this person, right? Ask them questions, be curious, have them remember you. The hiring manager. That is priority. So how do you do this, right? Let me break it down. So you can ask your preceptor, but I always advise asking the charge nurse. The charge nurse is important here because as you ask them, you connect with the charge nurse, who is someone who also matters, right? They're kind of like a leader. They're a leader on the unit, so they matter too. And they'll also likely know. So I go straight for the charge nurse. Ask the charge nurse who the hiring manager is and if they have an email address. They'll provide it to you because you're a student, you're great. They're just gonna give it to you. When you get that hiring manager's email, this is gold. This is your ticket here. This is what you're gonna use to email, right, this person. And the key here is don't straight up ask, are you guys hiring? Ask to meet with the hiring manager because you wanna shadow them for a couple hours. You're a nursing student, you're just curious what it is that they do. It's okay if I sit with you for a couple hours, an hour, and just see what it is that you do. I'm curious, I'm a nursing student, right? Leverage the fact that you're new, right? That's why I've said in a previous video, leverage the fact that you're a nursing student. You get into rooms that most people can't get into because you're a student. So email the hiring manager, hey, can I shadow you? They're gonna say yes. When they say yes and you meet with them, same thing you've done this whole time, friends. Get to know them, ask them questions, be helpful, be curious, connect with them. Have them remember you, you remember them, all that. Do this one time and it's gonna pay off. There's hundreds of applications that come in for nursing jobs, right? Especially for new grad programs. Doing this one thing will help you be remembered, right? Because at the end of it, right, you plant this seed by shadowing the hiring manager, and that's all you do this first time. Thank you so much for your time. I'll see you around, right? I'm gonna go finish off my hours, blah, blah, blah. After that's done, towards the end of your preceptorship, right, on that unit, right, you wanna meet with them again in person. Hey, thank you so much for the opportunity. If you can't meet with them again, because sometimes you can't, these people are busy, you send them an email. Hey, thank you so much for the opportunity of being able to shadow you the other day. I just finished my clinical rotation on this unit. I'm gonna graduate my nursing program. I'm really excited to get into the workforce and I'd really like to work here specifically. Are you guys hiring anytime soon? Boom, that is when you ask the question. And because you planted the seed earlier, you connected with them earlier, now they remember you. You send them this email and they're like, oh yeah, I like this nursing student. I would like to hire them actually. Yeah, let me give them information. We're hiring on this time soon after you graduate, blah, blah, blah. You should apply for this new grad program. I'll be on the lookout for your name. And this is just one big tip because this is one way to get your name, get your foot in the door somewhere. This is networking, right? This is the way I would break it down and do it. So I highly recommend you do that if there's a certain hospital that you're trying to get into. But this is just the route that I took, right? When I was initially applying to get into a hospital, I didn't end up working there, but I had built that networking connection. And in my case, the hiring manager did on that follow-up email tell me, oh yeah, we're opening some new grad positions. Definitely apply. I highly recommend you apply. I'll be on the lookout for your name. Boom. Felt good. Felt good to hear that. Most nursing students don't put in the time to do this one step. Trust me, do it. It will help. It will help. All right, now that we got that big one out the way, right? That one's network. This next one, it's a little bit easier, but it's expand your options. This one's more of a personal problem, issue, right? This is something we can work on within ourselves. Expand your options. So day shift and night shift. Don't just apply for day shift. Open your mind out to night shift. Even if you get hired for night shift, which you might, doesn't mean you have to stay there on night shift. You could eventually work your way to day shift. This is something that a lot of nursing students have to understand, is that to get your foot in, you're gonna have to make some sacrifices. You're gonna have to expand your options. So don't just apply for day shift because there's a harder chance to get one as a new grad. Apply to a lot of night shifts. Also apply to any floor, med surg, cardiac, telemetry, maybe ICUs. ICUs can be hard to get into, but you never know, right? ERs, apply to those. L&D, be careful. I mean, those are also competitive units, right? ICU, L&D, those are competitive units, but hey, you never know. But as a man, be careful with L&D. That's all I gotta say. You may actually really not like it, but you kind of get the idea, is to open up your mind to any floor potentially and apply for them. Open it up, expand your options. Also think about maybe applying anywhere within your state. Maybe you live in a certain part of town. Expand your mind, open. I know you like to live close to home, but maybe, you are trying to land this nursing gig. Maybe you'll move a little bit. If you're with a family, maybe you guys consider moving a little closer, but you're really trying to land that first opportunity. So don't be too picky is what I'm trying to say. Another thing is you can consider going into another state. There's a lot of people who go into a new state for a new job opportunity. Definitely consider that. But the whole point to this, expanding your options, is to get in somewhere, get your foot in. And then once you're in, friends, the idea is you pivot, you adjust and pivot. Maybe you start on night shifts on med-surg. Give it a year, give it 6 months. You don't know what other opportunities open within that hospital. But now that you're in, It'd be easier to then adjust and pivot to day shift maybe, or to the cardiac floor that you like better. You start to just adjust and pivot. You start to make moves in your career. But getting in, friends, is the hardest part. So don't be too picky. So and for this third tip, friends, I named it interviews are great, but what? But it's not a guarantee. Keep applying until you get an offer, right? So interviews are great, but it's not a guarantee that you will get an offer, so keep applying. That's the whole thing in sequence. Oftentimes when you interview, friends, and you apply, there's a lot of stress around it. Just because you get an opportunity to interview, it might be tempting to just stop applying. But don't stop applying for jobs, right? This is a mistake a lot of us make. Don't stop applying for jobs until you get an official offer letter. Because then, and even then, we'll talk about it, what if the opportunity falls through? Now you're stuck with no leads. You didn't continue to pursue, right? And let's say you did get an offer. Well, until you get a start date and until you start on that date, keep applying. It doesn't hurt anybody. You can always get and accept 2-3 offers. And then from there, just say, hey, I'm sorry, but I'm taking this other offer instead. People know it's business. This is business. It's business for them. It's business for you. The point of an interview is, yes, for them to see and get to know you, but it's also the reciprocal of that. It's for you to see and get to know them and their facility and see if it's a good match for you as well. It's like a business agreement. For me, I had to learn this over time. I didn't feel this way when I was first applying, right? I wanted to snatch the first opportunity and just stop applying. But the idea is, friends, until you get a start date and until you start on that date with your offer, anything could fall through. So keep applying until that happens. I know it takes a lot of energy. I know it's difficult. I've been currently, over the last couple months, been in this process of interviewing multiple times at multiple places and continuing to apply. So I know it takes energy, it takes headspace, but trust me, you have to do this. It's part of the process. So keep this in mind as well. And before I move on to the next one, I also wanted to add, oftentimes it's a numbers game. Some of these job applications are getting hundreds of applications, right? For these new grad job opportunities and things like that. So oftentimes it is a numbers game. Play the numbers game, across the state, across states, get in there, right? Night shift, day shift, all that stuff, right? That we just talked about before on expanding your options. And for this last tip, friends, this was the one that I said it's the pivotal one, where some people go this way, some people go this way. As much as I like to be real on here, right, with you guys, be honest and transparent with my own career. I've told you guys, I've never worked in a hospital. I never plan to work in a hospital. This is the tip that I advise for everybody. If you want to work in a hospital, you apply for hospitals as soon as you get out of school and get in a hospital, because this is going to be the easiest time for you to get in, right? New grads are highly desired, right, for getting into a hospital. If you go like the path that I go on and you skip the hospital completely and you try to go in 5 years later, you'll probably have to go into a new grad program, right? Which is gonna be a lot more competitive now because you're not straight out of school. You've been around, and people look at it like you've picked up bad habits, right? Not to say it's impossible, it's just gonna be difficult. And you'll be a little bit behind. You might feel a certain way by being behind on some of your hospital skills. A nurse is a nurse at the base of it all, but there's certain skills you need in a hospital. But the point to what I mean here is if you wanna work in a hospital, right? You think about it, I want to work in a hospital as a new grad, go and apply. For a lot of hospitals or only hospitals, go that route, follow that route. If you don't care about the hospital, you're like me, you're like, no, I'm cool, I'll never work in a hospital. Don't apply for hospitals, don't do it, don't waste your time. I've seen people go and not like it, like they knew they wouldn't like it and they pivoted elsewhere. So don't waste your time doing something you know you're not gonna like. So come this way. Go this way. Go and apply for those public health positions, those psych facilities, correctional facilities, schools, anything but the hospital. Come this way. You'll be just fine. You'll build your career out that way, and the people who like the hospital will build their career out in the hospital way. I mean, the way I look at it is you have to pave your own journey. This is your journey to tell. This is your journey to experience. This is your life. It's called career development, right? Career advancement. No matter which way you go, friends, hospital, not hospital, you're gonna find a path for you. But as a new grad trying to find and land that first job, you do wanna split here. You wanna go this way if you're not trying to go in the hospital, or this way if you're trying to go in the hospital. Because your energy has to go where it has to go. You don't wanna split your energy up. Let's say you're trying to get a hospital job, but you can't get one, so you land a psych facility job. Sure, that's an option for you, but now you're kind of wasting energy here versus this is where you want to be the whole time, and vice versa, right? So that's just my biggest pivotal tip for a lot of you guys who are trying to decide which route you want to go. There's no only correct answer. Both of them are correct, but they're only correct for you once you've done the work to think about what it is that you want out of your career, out of your nursing career. And anyways, friends, that is my video for today. Hopefully some of this is helpful for you. Network, expand your options, apply to as many places and interview, and wait for that job offer and wait for that start date, and think about that pivotal moment. These are all covered in today's video. As always, you guys know where to find me if you need me. I'm around. I enjoy making these videos. I see more people joining the journey. So if you haven't yet, friends, subscribe, consider subscribing, liking the video, sharing it, pushing it around. I'll be here if you guys need me. See you guys on the next one.